Hi, everyone. This is Raquel.
Hi, and this is Jennifer.
Welcome to Madness Cafe.
This is a feminist podcast where we talk about women's issues, politics, and health and wellness.
And where those issues intersect. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Madness Cafe. Today, Jennifer and I are joined by Christy Kanooble. She is a comedian from Philadelphia. She has a podcast called Hoe on the Go, where she teaches her listeners how to please and be pleasing through sexual and self-empowerment. She is also the author of the Hoe Handbook, and like I said, she's also a comedian, and she also delves into some mental health issues in her podcast. So there we go. So there's no telling where today's conversation is going to go. It could go all over the place. So Christy, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know it.
I am particularly excited that you're here because we've never had a comedian on the show before. And I am wondering, no pressure. I'm kind of wondering, I think we're all wondering, how did you delve into that world? How did you get involved?
Well, to be honest, I have just always had a knack for making people laugh. If I'm not making them laugh, I'm making them uncomfortable, which both are okay for me. I'm very intimidating, but I just like to make people smile, honestly. And as far as like on stage comedy goes, I had somebody that I had grown up with, he knew me before I even had boobs, and that says a lot. But I actually reconnected and we started chatting, and he was doing stand-up comedy on stage. And he was like, why don't you give it a try? And my family kind of really backed me, like, yeah, you should be getting paid for this. But, because I usually go to family parties and people are like rolling on the floor from just insane stuff that comes off the top of my head. And I did. I went and I did my first stand-up. My open mic was maybe 2 and some change years ago at this point. Since then, I've gone to, New York, Delaware, PA, New Jersey. And I'm trying to branch out, but I also have a child, so I don't want to go too far.
Of course. Wow. What goes through your head when you're on stage, especially like that first night, the first time you did it?
I listened to a lot of hype music on the way because I do have anxiety, so there was a little bit of that. Honestly, as soon as I hit the mic, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to kill this. And I did.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
I had taken the time to sit and write out, like, this is what I'm going to say. And I practiced it in the mirror, and I practiced it in the mirror. And as soon as the lights hit me, I was blinded. And it was kind of like Men in Black, where he hits the button and it flashes and they forget everything. Mm-hmm. I forgot everything, and I just went with it. And I don't even remember what I said, to be honest, because most of the time I go on stage, if I'm not doing my Hoe Handbook stuff, it's just me. I'm literally this crazy. So
wow.
Yeah.
That's very impressive. I think I would literally freeze and I would just have to be escorted off the stage, just saying.
I mean, I've messed up a few times. I haven't been a perfect, comedian every single time. I've bombed what they call like really doing bad. I've bombed once, and that's like a rite of passage, and hopefully no more than once. But a lot of the jokes are hit or miss. It depends on the crowd. It depends on where you are. You have to be adaptable, and that's why I don't like really writing sets, because you want to be able to be adaptable. You want to be able to play into the crowd. You want to be able to go in, and I'm not going to tell hoe jokes in a room full of middle-aged white men. Like, it's just not going to hit the same way it would with a bunch of 20-something girls, or like bachelorette party or divorce party, something like that. It's just kind of reading the room and knowing what you're going to say, and that kind of prevents you from, taking that severe downfall, because it's a shame spiral after you're like, oh, not my best work, So,
wow.
You wrote a book, Hoe Handbook.
Hoe Handbook, yes.
Hoe Handbook.
Hoe Handbook. What is it about?
Well, it's basically teaching people how to be a better person, how to love themselves and accept it fully, and to just be a hoe. A lot of the problem that I had, and the reason that I wrote it, because I was in my early 20s when I wrote it, I'm in my 30s now, is anytime I said I was a hoe, there was a negative connotation with it. People look down on me. And I'm like, hold on, because hoes are top tier. You're missing something here. So now I'm in there explaining the difference between a hoe, a whore, and a slut to everybody I meet, and it's part of my routine for stand-up. One of the first things I say to people. for that reason, because there shouldn't be some kind of stigma or, like you shouldn't look down on people for being not just promiscuous, but open and honest about their sexuality. I have nothing to be ashamed of. If you do, that's something that you need to address, because there should be no shame behind, your partners or what you're doing or what you're into. Like, it just shouldn't be that way. That's the reason I wrote it. But I was also very toxic at the time. So I am now revamping that book, and I'm going to re-release it as a 30 something.
What do you mean you were toxic at that time?
I was traumatized. I was an attempted murder survivor at the time, and I just literally belittled men. I treated them like toys. I still kind of do. Let's be real. I treated them like toys. I was just very bad, toxic, just poisonous. Honestly, I took what I wanted, and I didn't care how you felt about it, because I didn't feel anything, and I didn't care. So, getting to the age I'm at now, it's kind of incorporating all of my Hoe Handbook rules, which most of them are fine. There's just a couple that I'm like, girl, that is toxic. We're gonna remove that. We're gonna, redact. So, other than that, I'm just incorporating it being, a 30 something now and still a hoe. Just carrying on with life as it is now. The book itself isn't necessarily like an autobiography or anything like that. It is literally just a handbook. Like, hey, here's what you should and should not do according to the lead host / throat goat. So, like, this is what I'm trying to teach you.
Okay. So what are some of the rules that you are keeping in the next reiteration of the book?
Well, there's only a couple I'm removing. Most of them are staying. Number one is a hair tie around the wrist. That is how you know you found a hoe. They're always ready to suck dick at any time. But my Hoe Handbook rules, my rules also have hidden messages behind them. So the hair tie around the wrist, yes, you're always prepared to suck dick, but at the end of the day, it really just means to be prepared. You should always be prepared. No matter what you're doing, no matter where you're going, no matter who you're with, just be prepared for anything. So, other than that, if I have to work for a man, it better be a good looking one. If there's not, then you need to put a mirror at my desk, because I'm not going to sit here and not have a good time if I got to work here all day. So, we also have the difference between a walk and a work. When you walk, you just walk straight on. You don't really care what you look like when you're walking, but when you're working, you're crossing the legs, chest is out, chin's up. You're like in there. You are that bitch. Like, that's a work. So it's just knowing the difference, and just always being presentable and, not being afraid to experiment, because how could you possibly know who you are as a person or what you want from your life if you're not experimenting? It doesn't necessarily have to be sexual. It could be anything, any stage of your life, or anything you want to try. You should try it and stop being afraid of it, because a lot of the problem with modern times, people are so afraid of backlash and what people are going to say from their behavior. Like, fuck them. I'm not going to sit here and wear a mask so that you feel better about who I am. You're not the one that's there with me at 3 a.m. You're not the one that's there with me at 5 p.m. or, 2 p.m. or right before happy hour. Like, the before happy hour is what counts, because that's the sad time. Happy hour is great, but before that is like,
Yeah.
You just got done work, you're stressed out,
I kind of love that last one, because I have a kid that's in her 20s right now, and I watch her struggle a little bit, and I remember, I think back, and I'm like, the 20s are really hard. It's a time to really, you think it's going to be all fun and games, and you are going to the clubs and stuff, and it is a good time, but it's a time in your life where you're really struggling to figure out who you are.
And what you want. Yeah.
And I didn't do enough of that. What you just said, when I was in the 20s, I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't know what I wanted till I was 50. So congratulations to you on that.
Well, now hold on, because remember I said I was very traumatized.
Right.
So honestly, it wasn't up until this year, and that's why you mentioned the mental health stuff. I had an attempt because I was just in a very, very bad place mentally. My survivor story, I told no one, and it just poisoned my brain. And with the loss of a little sister in 2020, it just kind of shook me to my core. And all
oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
It happens, it's
it does.
I made my peace with it. It's finally time for her to watch out for me instead of me constantly chasing her around, kind of thing. It's a little sister. So when that happened, I kind of went down a really bad spiral, and everything that I thought I wanted in my 20s and everything I thought this is what I'm going to do with my life, it's no longer what I wanted. I've got my diagnosis. I've learned more about who I am and more about who I was before my identity was taken from me. I was only 18. I didn't even get a chance to be an adult when that happened. So everything that happened after that was just kind of trauma responses and toxic behavior and just avoidance, emotional avoidance, especially. Yeah. And now it's like being who exactly I am and finding who I was before then and making mistakes over and over again that I thought I had learned the lesson from. So I wouldn't say that, necessarily I had it all together, because my understanding of having it all together was a mess, like hot mess express. So, where I am now in my life, I'm 31. I just turned 31. I was just diagnosed with a slew of mental health conditions in April. It's refinding myself again. So even in your 20s, you don't find yourself. Even in your 30s, if you don't find yourself, as long as you're actively trying to find yourself, I think that's really what matters at the end of the day.
Well, it continues into your 50s too. So,
but at least you have money. At least you have money. Like, I'm broke and I can't figure it out. At least I could go to the Bahamas and sit on a beach and try to, square it away.
With your diagnosis, what helped you to start to define yourself? How did that change things for you?
Wait, can we back up a little bit? Just before you, I'm sorry, you guys, but Christy, before you answer Jennifer's question, because I don't think we've said yet, can you, if you're comfortable, can you say what your diagnosis is?
Sure. I have no shame or filter. I am diagnosed with CPTSD, anxiety, depression, borderline personality disorder, psychosis, and obsessive love disorder. Taught me a lot about myself. I didn't even know obsessive love disorder was a thing.
Me neither. Not till you just said it. What is it?
It's kind of exactly how it sounds. So it goes kind of hand in hand with my borderline. It just makes the symptoms worse. When you have borderline personality disorder, you have what's called a fixated person or a favorite person, an FP. This is someone who has continuously given you, let's say they text you every day and you talk all day. You're now fixated on this person. The difference is with me is I become obsessed. I can think of nothing else. If I don't hear from them, my world stops. I can't concentrate. I can't eat. I can't sleep. It's just insane. Like, I'm sending paragraphs. Like, have you ever sent a paragraph you look after, you're like, not my best work? Like, I did that almost every day because because I got left on red, or because they didn't text me back fast enough. It's like, that is not fair to that person.
And this is in a romantic relationship generally?
It does not have to be. No.
Okay.
It's just someone who gives you that attention. With the borderline, you have that fixated person, and that just basically means you put that person on a pedestal above everyone else. Because borderlines think in black and white. You are either the hero or you are the villain. There is no in between, and it can swap frequently. So it's just like a roller coaster all the time. But with that obsessive love disorder, it takes it to that, like, for lack of a better way to describe it, and I'm talking about myself, so I could say this, like, psychotic level, like, like where you're concerned, but in the moment, in my head, I'm not really even there. This is totally normal behavior. Not totally going, what are you doing? Whoa. What is this? What are you doing? Don't do that. And I'm like, oh, ew, what's going on? Then I look down, I called him like 17 times and there's 14 messages. I'm like, how did I send 14 messages and I didn't even get the one point I wanted to make across? Like,
wow,
that's kind of how it was. And I can't sleep. I'm waiting up for an answer. Like, now you're messing with my sleep schedule, my work, my family, as far as my son, because I can't think of anything else. I can't concentrate. And it's just terrible. So,
how did you got help with that? How did you get help?
I'm actively in therapy for it. And it's also recognizing the signs now myself. So, before my diagnosis, I thought this was all normal behavior. But also at the same time, I didn't feel anything. I knew happy, sad, and mad. I didn't know any other emotion. I didn't know there was a depth to different emotions, like frustrated or disappointed, or you're not depressed, you're not suicidal, you're just a little disappointed that they didn't meet you or they canceled plans. Because canceled plans for someone with borderline is like immediate trigger. even change in facial expressions can trigger a borderline, because any kind of rejection that we feel will send us basically into a shame spiral. And 1 in 10 borderlines actually end up committing suicide because of it. It causes intense physical and mental and emotional agony. It feels like losing a sibling when you don't get a text back. It feels like, when you crack your knuckle, but it doesn't crack, and you're just like doing anything you can to crack it. That's the best way I can describe how it feels. That's the best way I can describe how my body feels when that happens, on top of the emotional agony. So a lot of them turn to self-harm and suicidal ideations because of it. It's a lot of worthlessness and a lot of, why won't they text me back? Why am I not worth the text back? Not thinking like, were they even worth texting me in the first place? Like,
right.
Were they even slinging it like that to get this kind of behavior?
Right.
Yes.
They didn't give me no money, so why am I acting like this? That's the shame spiral. But yeah, learning about my mental health conditions and seeking help and getting into therapy, which therapy is a little bit hard for me. I prefer a group setting, but I'm also very traumatized and very private about it. So it's difficult to manage, but it taught me a lot about myself, about my previous behaviors, and about how I can manage my behaviors and recognize the signs when I'm being triggered or when something may trigger me, and I'm always a big advocate, number one, for mental health. Let's start there. But number two, I think a big issue with society now is, like, I post a lot about my borderline. I post a lot of stuff about it just to spread awareness. I'm not ashamed of my conditions. There's nothing wrong with having mental health conditions. I'm not killing anyone. I'm not psychotic. You know what I mean? All right. I am psychotic, but not in a violent way. I'm just in like she's a little on edge kind of way. But I'm open and honest about that. So if I go to a situation and I'm with people that I trust and I love, and I know I may get triggered, I'm going to tell them something may trigger me. If I walk away, make something up for me. And because they love me, they'll do that. If we're in like a business meeting or something and I get triggered and I just walk off, they'll slide right in. Oh, she had to go to the bathroom. She wasn't feeling well this morning. Or, they'll say something without giving out my business in a moment where I can't. And I think that's a lot of the problem now, because people think when you're explaining that these are triggers and that's why you behave the way you behave, you're using your mental conditions as an excuse. Like, I don't have to excuse that behavior. First of all, I didn't even have to explain it to you. I was doing it out of courtesy. And I've been met with that a lot, honestly, since I've been more open about my mental health condition. So it's a big problem.
So do you feel that it's been helping you to be more open about it?
Absolutely. Not only just helping me, but helping people understand me and why I behave the way I behave, why I act the way I act. They don't have to ask why I'm a hoe now. I have attachment issues, obviously, so I'm not going to get attached to somebody, because if they leave, I might fucking kill myself. So I'm going to keep my roster. There's no emotional attachment to my roster. We are not even friends. We are not following each other on social media. There is no chance for them to become a fixated person for me.
Tell our audience what your roster is. They may not know.
Okay. So for me, a roster is something I've kind of always had. It's a select few people, and it does change. There is an application process, but there's also NDAs that are getting signed. Listen, any ladies watching, sign them NDAs, girls, okay? Because they can send your nudes wherever they want to, and you should be charging for that. So NDAs, highly important. But also NDAs are important for any kind of job you have. You don't want to ever take the risk of some freaky stuff you were trying with somebody to spread around the office or spread around, your Cub Scout meeting. You don't want to see that. So I always recommend NDAs. That's first and foremost.
And when you say that, you're serious. You're really signing a non-disclosure agreement with the partner you're involved with.
Absolutely. Yep.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's necessary.
Yeah, that's smart. That's really smart.
Now, that doesn't count for one night stands and stuff. They're just one night stands. If anything, I become a legend. So that just helps me become further into a legend. But when it comes to the roster, it's a select group of, for me, it's men and women, but men or women, whatever your preference is. These are the people that you play with. I call sex play for me, because I don't have a romantic attachment to sex. So understand that when I talk about sex, I don't have any kind of romantic attachment to it. I'm not lighting candles and playing Savage Garden in the background before we get into it. We're not doing that. These are, and I number them, and it swaps what numbers they are, people that I will send a text. They do not text me. We do not speak. We are not friends. You do not reach out to me. I reach out to you. You have 15 minutes to answer, to schedule something, or I'm going to the next member of the roster. They have 15 minutes, I'm going to the next one. Within an hour, somebody's answering. There's no way no one in my top 4 is answering. Like, there's just no way. They know better. So we'll schedule it out. This day, this time, this day, this time. Your house or mine, blah, blah, blah. And we meet up, do our thing. Pat on the back, good job, champ. High five, and we're out. See you next time. It's just literally releasing that energy, that frustration, that pent up aggression in a way where this person's going to satisfy you. I don't have to go on Tinder and worry about being disappointed because I leave. I am very disrespectful. If it's bad, I will leave. I will tell you it's bad and I will leave. I don't care. I will just leave. And that's what I mean by like toxic a little bit.
The roster, did you make that up? Did you learn it from someone else, or this is just something you always did? I'm fascinated by this idea.
So the way I didn't get taught a roster. It's just kind of how I've always operated.
Okay.
And I think that stems a lot from my BPD and that fixated person. I always knew something was off when I had one person that would be like my fuck buddy or my my situationship or whatever they call it nowadays, the cool kids or whatever. I noticed I would have those obsessive tendencies. And we made it clear from the beginning that we didn't want a relationship. But now I'm messing that up because I'm acting like we're in a relationship. Because I have always separated my friends from my sex life. Not in a way of talking, but physically. I do not have sex with my friends. I do not tell, they don't know who I am and they don't know who I'm messing with, things like that. I'll tell them stories, but I never tell them names. And it's not like a hoes don't kiss and tell kind of thing, because obviously I'm an open book, but it's just more for me, because then I'm like, oh no, they're going to ask about them now. Now I'm going to be thinking about them more. This roster was made basically for me to manage before I even knew what I had to manage. And it's
interesting.
It's worked for me.
Well, it sounds like it's a way for you to have some control over not just the situations, but it was a way to have some control over your emotions and the way that your emotions could get skewed because of your borderline personality disorder.
That's right. I like to have control in everything. It's a trauma response.
Me too.
I'm an alpha submissive. I am an alpha submissive. I need to have control always. Yeah. In the right situation where I feel safe and I feel comfortable, then I tend to have those submissive qualities. But it has to be, because when you look at like the BDSM range, it's a power control. That's a power exchange. Right. This is control. That's a little different. That's giving somebody control over your body and your situation. And as somebody, for me, who's been attacked, that's very hard to give up. I have my own place. I make the rules in this place. This is how I run my life. And there is no one who's going to tell me different kind of thing. So I have a hard time with men because men don't tend to like that. So,
I listened to your podcast when you talked about, what is it called? The alpha submissive, what you were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I really identify with a lot of those characteristics as well, because it's a really interesting thing to trust someone in that way.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah.
And
I thought it was a really informative episode, actually.
Thank you. And it's not even like, the way I say it too is, it's not even like you're trusting them, like hide my secrets or something like that. It's I'm trusting you in this moment to, number one, see me in my raw, rare form, but also to keep it private and keep me safe. It's
exactly.
Security. You're giving up your sense of security to that person when you have sex, because you are like you're butt naked. There's nothing more raw than that.
Right.
So,
right. Well, and you're trusting that they aren't going to cross a line that you have for yourself.
Your boundaries. Yeah, they're not going to go over your boundaries. There's nothing that you have to be concerned with. You don't got to look for a little red dot to see if they're recording. It's not, you don't have to worry about it. Go in that situation and just be yourself and be free and sexually open, which is the point of having sex. You're not supposed to go into a sexual encounter stressed out. You're supposed to go in ready for action and excited,
Christy, with your roster and your non-disclosure agreements, do you set boundaries in advance? Do you talk about what's acceptable, what's not acceptable?
Absolutely. 100%. So because I also have a lot of experience in the BDSM range, I, number one, make them take it's a BDSM test. You can find it online. It's absolutely free. And that just basically goes over what your likes and dislikes are. And it'll give you, like numbers. You're this percent of this, you're this percent of this. This is what you're into.
Interesting.
That helps you learn more about each other beforehand. But I also set my boundaries, like with the contact. Do not contact me. I will contact you. That's a borderline thing, but I don't need to tell you that. It's none of your damn business. We're not friends. So this is just a rule you have to follow. You have a certain amount of time. It's kind of like an outline beside the NDA of what they can and cannot do. And they are also ready and willing to give me their boundaries. And I absolutely respect that. Like degrading. I don't like that. If you say something degrading to me, you will leave immediately and you will be blocked immediately. I will rip up your disclosure and we're out. You're off the roster. That's it. Like I am cutthroat with my boundaries and I have to be that way and I'm not ashamed of it and I wish more people were.
Me too.
Absolutely cutthroat. Vicious.
Me too.
Vicious.
Me too. That's awesome. Part of your tagline, you say, I spread my legs to spread knowledge. What does that mean?
So, well, it's spread love, light in your legs. To spread legs to spread knowledge. It means I've done the legwork so that other people don't have to. I used to teach classes at a sex club on how to better please your partner. I've literally gone to sex clubs just to research how people behave around each other. Couples, singles, in the act of sex, outside of the act of sex, before sex, after sex, group sex, just I've watched it. I love to research. I love to learn things. So by doing that, I've learned tips and tricks on how to better handle those situations or what ways you can go about that may work better than what you're doing now. Because there's always I've noticed a shame spiral for some people.
Totally.
Mostly after. Like before, it's just you're kind of self-conscious, which I always try to help women with. Girl, take them clothes off. He knew what he signed up for. Okay, take it off. And keep the lights on. Unless he's ugly, then turn the lights off, and that's fine. But beyond that, there's a shame spiral after, and I see it. It doesn't matter what the age is. And I wish I had an explanation why. I'm sure there's some scientific reason, but I am not a scientist. So it's just I guess the act of getting dressed again by yourself or, not looking them in the eyes or why do people do that? But I
you mean
see
this
it all the time.
When it's a casual hookup, there's a shame spiral? Is that what you mean?
Not necessarily. I've seen it. Now, mind you, when I've watched this is a public venue. So that shame spiral just may be because you're in public doing it. And this is how you feel after.
They're having sex in public?
Well, it's a sex club. Yeah. So you would walk in
this
club.
I missed that somehow. I missed that part. Okay.
So I used to teach classes on how to better please your partner at a sex club.
This
sex club it's very private. You cannot take your phone in. You have to have a membership. It's not like you're just walking in some seedy bar going in the back and there's people humping on each other. No.
Right.
It's very there's 40 different rooms. There's a dungeon area. There's swings. There's poles. There's bars. You can bring your own alcohol, which is the best part in my opinion. Anywhere you can bring your own alcohol, sign me up. Sign me up. Because I'm going to turn into a woo girl real quick. Pass the Jack Daniels. But it feels like a safe space. I keep that in consideration when I make these assessments on people. A lot of the times with that, there is that shame spiral. And that's where I kind of wanted to teach these classes because I'm like, well, why does she feel ashamed and you don't?
Is it almost always the women who feel shame and the men who don't?
I would say maybe a 60-40, to be honest. Okay. It kind of depends on the situation, the situational kind of thing. I've noticed more with, one-on-one, it tends to be the women. But when it comes to maybe threesomes or more, it tends to be the man. And I feel like that's a demasculation thing. There's more men involved. Maybe she made a different sound that you haven't heard before. That brings things into their head, makes them feel ashamed or that they're inadequate. Yeah, it's a self-conscious thing. But when I said spread love, light in your legs, it just means I have literally done the research. I've also done the legwork. I have a set on how the different branches of the military fuck because I've done the legwork. Okay, I like my military men.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
I would dare say that maybe the shame spiral with women, especially in the one-on-one situation, is because you're letting go. Like, you're being very open and, well, hopefully, and you're expressing in a way with somebody that you don't express 24/7, right? So,
Sure.
you feel vulnerable, and that's not always easy for people.
No, it's
Especially
not.
for women, I think it's not easy.
I mean, I feel like having sex in front of people is never easy, period.
Right.
Even in front of a camera, it's never easy. It's not even something that I do.
Mhm.
I frequent sex clubs, but I don't have sex in public. I don't do that.
Right.
Because first of all, it took me a long time to master these skills. You ain't just go watch and learn for free. You got to go do the legwork yourself, honey. You got to go learn it yourself. Also, because I have that feeling, like I do not want people watching me like this. I don't feel comfortable being that, vulnerable, like you said. Again, control is a big thing for me. If people are watching, there is a lack of control there. Or if you're recording, there's a lack of control there too. Because in my head, it's like, where's this video going? Can I trust you to keep it private?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
is my kid going to see this 10 years from now? Now I got explaining to do,
In doing this kind of work, are there a few things that you have learned that are kind of universal for all people, not necessarily in a sex club, but in sex in general?
Communication. That is like number one, period. I feel like now when you say universal, do you mean just like something that I give as advice to anyone?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. Communication, number one. You have to set those boundaries, what you like and what you don't like. But when I tell people to do that, especially that mostly comes when you're trying, the more fun, kink play, adventurous stuff, you don't have
Yeah.
to fill out an NDA for having missionary. Okay. Like it's just unnecessary, but when you're getting into more the kink play aspect, my biggest suggestion is to sit down by yourself outside of your partner. Doesn't matter if you're married, you're with them for 10 years, you're with them for 20 years. Sit down by yourself and really think about what you want to get out of this new adventure or what adventure you want to try, that you've seen that you're interested in. Because without doing that by yourself before bringing it to your partner and addressing it together, you're only going to follow what your partner wants. And you're going to bounce off each other, and no one's going to do what they actually wanted. You're going to end up disappointed. It's going to happen. I mean, you'll be satisfied if you can, but you'll be disappointed in the long run because you didn't do what you wanted with it. You didn't get what you wanted out of it. So communication and, kind of doing that self-searching when it comes to sex, universal, it's very big. And exploration, honestly. I always tell people, go be a hoe and make me proud. You can't just, this is my opinion. You cannot have sex with one person your entire life and say you're satisfied. It's a lie. It's a lie because you don't know what's out there to say that this fully satisfies you. Now, it doesn't mean you're not content. No, of course not. If you're happy doing that, go for it, girl. Everyone needs a hoe phase. And that hoe phase can be in your marriage. You could be a hoe for everyone or a hoe for someone's son. It doesn't matter. The hoe doesn't necessarily mean single.
You're much younger than us, but let's say you're talking to a group of 50-year-old women who are deciding, hey, I never did all that, and now I think I want to be a hoe. How would someone get started in that world?
Well, they can watch my podcast. Honestly, like I said, sit down. What do I want from life? Because if you're thinking that in your head, then to some degree you don't feel fully fulfilled. What do you need to feel fulfilled? If it's sexually based, think about it. Do some exploration. Watch some videos. Say, ooh, that looks fun. Write it down. Take your notes. Don't be afraid to look online and watch videos and learn things. Go to sex clubs. See what people are doing. See what you're interested in and what you're not. If you're married at that age, then you bring it to your partner. If you've done it by yourself, say, hey, I want to try this. Because by your 50s, if you're married in your 50s, like you've been together a while, you can do it like that. You can be direct like that. Like, hey, Thursday night, this is what we're doing. Make no plans. You ain't watching no TV. Tell your guys to leave you alone and turn the phone off because this is what we're doing.
I bet that man would fall over when his wife comes and
they
says,
will,
we're
ladies.
going to
Men
a sex
love
club.
it.
No kidding.
I'm sure.
So
I'm sure.
Can you go to a sex club just like as a guest or as an observer, or do you have to be a member first.
You have to be a member to get in. That's just the
Okay.
fee you pay to get in. You don't have to do anything there.
Okay.
There's a dance floor, there's a bar, there's seats you can sit in. You don't have to have
Raquel?
sex.
I don't know, maybe.
she's on Google on the sideline right now, like sex club in my area. But yeah, I mean, I have maybe had sex there once, and I've gone there hundreds of times because I go there to learn. That's what I did. You know, just don't be afraid to experiment. Go out there. Get out there, girl. Get that dress on. Get snazzy. And don't walk. Work. Chest out, chin up, you know? Confidence and purpose. You walk in that room, that is your room, period.
I love your confidence.
See, I'm like right at the edge of like the great level of confidence and a God complex. And that's where I'm struggling. Because I'm like, all right, like I know I'm like at least a 9, but like let me dial it down to a hard 7. You know, online and stuff will be like, I'm at least a hard 7. I know damn well I'm a 9. Come on now. You know, I'm not a 10 out of 10. I'm not perfect, but you know, at least like an 8 or 9 range. I know that for a fact.
Have you always been this confident?
No.
So how'd you get to this point?
I was very self-conscious in high school. I used to wear baggy
I'm just
hoodies
asking for a friend, but how'd you get to be this confident?
I don't know. I just kind of was really self-conscious in high school. And when I got to college, I went to school 2 hours away. And I was like, I'm not going to fucking be this anymore. I want to be that shit. So I'm going to be that shit. Neither
That's
you
awesome.
can smell it or keep walking, you know, like this is who I'm going to be. And it's been that way since. And honestly, it's gotten worse since because I used to be very big. I was on a lot of medications for my health problems and I lost a lot of weight. And with that weight loss comes like bad bitch syndrome, you know, but that's bad bitch, big dick energy, you know, everywhere I go, like I own that room and I try to teach people like that's that spread love and light and your legs, you know, that's just the fun part. But you know, the spread of love and light, you want to feel like a ray of light in any room you walk into. And if you feel that inside, it will show in the way you walk and you talk and you feel eventually. It's not fake it till you make it. I don't like saying that, but you're not faking it. It's in there. Mm-hmm. You're just not used to it. Everybody has the capability to be that bitch. Right. You know,
you're allowing down and accessing it.
Yes, it's just not even accessing it. Just close your mind off. I'm that bitch. No description, no consideration required. I am that bitch. If you believe it, everybody else will too. And that's how I basically lived my life. It was just being so like I hated myself for a really long time. And then, you know, after that, you know, burst of confidence, of course, my trauma happened and it was like a hate myself spiral again. But it was still that confidence level too. My issue was, you know, like the self-harming issues, like, you know, the drinking and just stupid behaviors that I knew I deserved better than. Like, I had sex with a bald man. That's not okay. Like, for my confidence level, like, this man could not even grow hair, and he has the right to say that he bedded me. Like, that's not okay. That's what I'm talking about. Like, the, you know, now, like, my standards, they're not necessarily, like, super high, you know? I don't ask for that much, but at the same time, I'm not going to tolerate anything. Like
hair and teeth. You need to have hair and teeth.
Listen, hair and teeth, yes. Yeah. If somebody sends me a message to my inbox that says, "Hey, pretty," I'm blocking you. Pretty is for girls on the 4 to 6 range. I am a hard 7. I am beautiful and above.
Wait, you're a 9.
Yeah, but I said a hard 7 online though. Online, you gotta be humble. You gotta be humble. You scare them away.
Okay.
You know, I already intimidate men. It's very bad because I'm very direct and I'm blunt. It's not that I don't care about their feelings. It's just that it's irrelevant to what I'm doing. So as much as I, you know, do care about how you feel, and my favorite line is this: "Thank you for sharing your perspective," because that's the best way to say "fuck your feelings" in a business way. I say it all the time. It's my favorite line, especially because I'm in the public eye a lot. You can't just be like, "Well, bitch, fuck your feelings," you know? You got to say, "Well, thank you for sharing your perspective. I'm sorry you feel that way."
I'm gonna write that down. I like
that.
Thank
that
you
one's going to the top of the list.
Yep.
I like write that down in your Hoe Handbook, ladies. Write your Hoe Handbook out. Everybody should have one. These are tips and tricks that you've learned along the way, especially, for you guys, you're older. There's things that you've been through that I haven't even crossed that bridge yet that you could give advice and guidance on. Write your Hoe Handbook, not a little black book. Do not keep track of the men you have sex with. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't send a shame spiral. You don't need that.
Actually, mine didn't send me on a shame spiral. Other partners of mine had an issue, but I was like, I'm not going to feel ashamed of this. Those were all my decisions. I wasn't forced into anything.
I'm actually really glad you said that, because I actually just talked about this on my podcast. Men need to stop asking women how many sexual partners they have.
That
it's none of your business.
Me off.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason they ask it is because they're subconscious, and because there is literally still men out there that think the more sexual partners you have, the looser you are. That's a real thing. Men really think that.
That's fucking gross.
That is very true.
It is.
That is very true.
That's
and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what age range you're talking about either. There's that crazy thought that if a woman has had sex with more than X number, whatever they deem that number to be, that, oh my God, she's horrible, and she has no morals, and oh my God, she'll have sex with anybody. Oh Lord,
though, I heard this one guy talking about it at work once. He was dating this woman that he pursued for so long. And then when he found out her number, which she told him, he was like, well, I just don't feel special anymore.
Oh,
I was like,
my issue with this is here. Number one, why would you want to hurt your own feelings? Let's start there. Why would a man ask that to hurt his own feelings?
Right.
Yeah.
Why would a man get upset with the number of sexual partners you had? That just means you have more experience. It means you're about to rock the shit out of this man's world. Like, he should be like, hell yeah, girl. How many? Oh yeah, we in there. That means your experience. But at the same time, women, why are we even answering? Stop answering.
That's a good point too.
Who cares? If a man asks me how many sexual partners I've had, I've asked him how many times he's jerked off in his lifetime. When you can answer, so can I. There you go.
Right.
That's a good
write that down too. Yes,
yeah, that's a
I make
good
men
response
feel.
Too.
I tend to I make men feel little. I belittle men.
Well, because women are judged so much for liking sex, talking about sex, having had sex with more than maybe one or two guys. I mean, making their own decisions when it comes to sex and deciding, yes, I do want to have sex with so-and-so, so I had sex with so-and-so. Women are judged for that all the time, but men are lauded for being these,
Except the man wants you to be a sexual dynamo, but he also wants you to have no experience with sex.
My issue is it falls back to what you just said. Like, for example, if I go to a bar and I bag 3 girls, and then my friend bags 3 girls, he's a god. Yeah, he did it. But I'm a hoe or a whore, or a slut. You bag the same amount of girls.
Yeah.
How is it negative for me, but it's positive for you?
Not anymore. We're not putting up with that shit anymore.
I have never put up with it.
That is over.
And again, even when people ask me my number, first of all, I don't even keep track, because then I'd go into a shame spiral, like, you know what I mean? Or something like that,
Yeah.
I don't know what the number is. At the same time, that's why I don't keep track. Because if somebody asks me that question, I'm not answering it. I don't have an answer. Even if I wanted to answer, I'm not going to. I strongly encourage women, if a man asks you how many partners you've had, ask him how many times he's jerked off in a lifetime. When he can answer, so will you. That's it.
All right.
Stop giving these men this information and making yourself feel less than. That's what they're doing. Yeah. They're trying to make us feel less than what we are, which is that bitch. And I hate that. This is why I tend to treat men like shit most of the time. But it's only when they act like that. It's not like I go up to a man and go, you're a piece of shit. No. It's when they act like that. If you're beating your chest in front of me, I'm beating mine harder. And I've got triple D boobs. I'm going to win. So, and I'm a Virgo, so I'm very argumentative. I will give you straight, I kick off Virgo season on the 23rd. So
when's your birthday?
The 23rd of August.
Mine's the 14th of September. So
yeah, I'm the first day of Virgo, so I'm a Leo Virgo cusp, which makes it even worse. Because now I'm in your face while I'm arguing with you, I'm aggressive with it. But that's what I mean when I say I'm very direct with men, especially. I do not take nonsense. Mansplaining, I don't even allow it. And you're done. We're done. It's done. Because here are the facts. This is what we went over. And now we're done. Thanks.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cut
Or
it at the
again,
source.
thank you for sharing your perspective.
There you go. Yeah.
There you go. I love it. That
like-
is so going to be part of my
Your
vernacular
life.
now. I'm going to use that all the time.
Beyond that, like with men too, like ladies are so afraid to cut a man off. Cut that man off mid-sentence if he's mansplaining to you.
Mm-hmm.
Screw his feelings. He didn't care about yours. You guys sit here and listen to him for 20 minutes? No.
Yep. Well, yeah, because we're conditioned to be nice.
Well, we need to decondition because we don't need to be nice to these men. They're not nice to us. Look at all the men that ghost women, who talk down to women, who beat on women, who make women do things they don't want to because just for the sake of the relationship, and women just follow along like a puppy.
Yep.
Fuck that. This is the age of women. Cut that man off. Tell him thank you for sharing your perspective, and don't comment on his dick size, and then walk off. You know, I hate when women do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, I make men feel like shit, but I will never do that because that's not right. You know?
Yeah.
Unless he talks about your body, in which case it's game on. At that point, now we're in a roast battle. Why can't you grow hair? You know, like, you know, that's when feelings are getting hurt. I don't get angry. See, I think this is my problem. I don't get angry. I get petty. Now I'm going to hurt your feelings because you irritated me. You know?
Because he tried to hurt your feelings first. Before that, you were kind.
He had tried it. I try to be kind. And if it goes to a level where I feel myself starting to get worked up, now I'm just going to, and I'm smiling and laughing, you know, blow after blow after blow after blow, just ruin your whole fucking prospect on life. Your whole outlook on life is just trashed immediately. And then I end it with, thank you for sharing your perspective, and mic drop and walk off, you know? So everybody's like, oh, and now you feel like crap. Don't do that to yourself, you know? I try to warn them. I tell men, like, my mating call is the sound of a shaking pill bottle. If you don't listen to me when I tell you that I'm crazy and then I act crazy, you don't get the right to go, this bitch is crazy. Like, I had warned you that I was crazy. You chose not to take my advice.
There you go.
Thought the bomb sex was worth it. So
I actually am very inspired by the way you have been treating men.
Thank you.
If they treat you well, you treat them well. They treat you that way. And I don't think that, I can't speak for Raquel, but I think a lot of times in my life, I've just taken it because that was the expectation. And you're inspiring me to be like, I don't need to take that shit anymore.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and same, because it was the whole thing of if I rock the boat or if I'm too
needy,
I don't know, if I'm
whiny.
too needy or if I'm too mouthy or if I'm too strong of a personality, then he's gonna leave, and no, if he leaves, that means I'm awful, blah, you know. So exactly, yes, wave bye-bye. I should have, trust me, I've put up with way more crap than I should have in many relationships.
And that's what we as women are conditioned to believe. Unfortunately for men, that's not true. And now we're starting to realize it. Number one, you have to forgive yourself for the shit you've put up with. Because you didn't know any better. You were conditioned to behave that way. So you don't shame yourself for the stuff, I should have. Who cares? It's done.
Yeah.
It happened that way. You learned something. Now moving forward, stop putting up with shit. Like, and that doesn't mean if your man don't take out the trash, you have to remind him 3 times you're kicking him the fuck out. That's not what that means.
Well,
you know, but it means, you know, if you're in a situation where your man constantly talks down to you, or he constantly doesn't value your opinion or your advice, he constantly doesn't come to you as a team member and a partner in your relationship, then you need to do what's best for you and take the fuck off or kick him out. And if you're afraid to stand on your own, we're all fucking afraid. Do it anyway. You'll be okay. At the end of the day, we all have some sort of support system. And if you don't, there are programs that will help you leave. You deserve to live a life that you feel fulfilled by and that you are happy with. You're not going to be happy if you're trilling along like a dog on a leash with a man who doesn't even know where your clit is. Just because you're married to him, you're supposed to stay married to him? No, leave. You learned a lesson. You had a great time while it lasted. Thank you for your perspective and dip on, you know? You got to keep going. We just got to stop tolerating this from men.
Or from anybody that says that they love us, you know?
That's
because,
true, yeah.
You know, just because somebody says they love you doesn't mean that they get the permission to treat you like crap. And I think that's something that we all need to learn too.
That is very true. The only thing I will mention is when it comes to family. And this I honestly learned recently with my mental health conditions. Because my family didn't really talk to me after I got diagnosed. to be fair, what I'd done before then, I didn't realize my behaviors affected my family. I didn't think of them at all. And that was very selfish. And I mean, I forgave myself for it. Some of them I still don't speak to. If we have to cut off our family to be okay, that's fine. But what's most important is forgiving them for it. A lot of the times when we cut these people off, when we leave these relationships, we're bitter, we're angry, and we're just either shame spiraling. We hate ourselves for our behaviors, or we're, just angry at them, bitter. Like, how could they treat me this way? After all I did for you or my family, like you're my sister, you're my mother. We can't control how other people treat us.
Yeah.
But what we can control is how much thought and attention we give it inside. Because if you're bitter, you're just holding on to all that animosity. It's not going to do anything but make you feel like shit. They're fine. Because with men, as I'm sure you guys know, as soon as you break up, they're see ya. They're at the club. They got the convertible. They're riding down, tops down. They got young bitches in the passenger seat. But guess what? Later down the line, 3-4 months down the line, when the bitches get old and they don't feel like going to the club anymore, and you're finally, because you've been working on yourself the whole time, getting to a good spot and a happy place. Now they're like, damn, that's the feeling you want. Instead of being angry the whole time and upset and in bed, and you can't get out of bed and you're depressed and you stop going to work, you stop going out. No, but I'm grabbing them high heels the second that man walks out the door, and I'm strutting my ass in the most public area I can find, because I'm going to show them. I'm posting pictures of my ass on Instagram, topless on a yacht 2022. Well, you got to do that. That's where men mess up. And I think women are also messing up, because women, yes, we work on ourselves. We're smart like that. And men obviously do not. They go immediately to find somebody else to give them, gratification and, let them make them feel like a man, I guess, again, or give them confidence back. Because a lot of times when relationships end, men tend to lose their confidence. They don't tell you that, but they do. It affects their confidence, because the man's supposed to be a fixer, supposed to be a protector, and he couldn't fix this. He couldn't protect this relationship. So it affects them that way. Whereas women, we're meant to cater to a man. So we have our own shame spiral we're going down. Like, we couldn't make him happy. What could we have done? So really, relationships will work. A lot of the times, what we don't do is take the time to blast in their face how they fucked up.
Women. I needed to do more of that.
That's where we're fucking up. We're working on ourselves, and that should absolutely still be a thing. Post them topless on a yacht pics online. Post them. Because guess what? He's riding around and he's posting bitches online and he's rubbing it in your face, and you're sitting there angry scrolling while you're fucking a CEO of a business as of the day before. Because that's how women fucking do, or you're like 3 pages into an essay for a college class you just signed up for this morning, because as soon as women get bitter, we get better. That's what we do.
Yeah.
We flip it. Men just, they just go out and have a great time. They don't even consider it, because men aren't emotionally driven like we are. They just want to feel a man again. We want to feel like we're worth something after, but we're not flexing it enough. Women. We're not flexing it. If a guy turns me down and rejects me, I'm posting a hot selfie immediately after, because I know I'm getting 200-300 likes. Yeah. You rejected me. I gave you a chance, and that was a blessing to begin with. Like, that's how we need to look at these men. My presence is a gift. It is a gift. To even speak to me is a gift, because I'm hilarious, number one. But number two, because I have a lot of knowledge, a lot to offer, and I have hoe history. You know what I mean? I have legendary status in a lot of places. To even be associated with me is a gift. And everybody should feel that way. You don't have to be the throat goat of an area to have that kind of feeling and status about yourself. You should always feel like that. That comes into not tolerating it. This is part of setting boundaries. Don't let your man talk down to you. The last time a man talked down to me, I swear I was an inch from his face, ready to knock his teeth out. And I'm 5'2", and he was much taller. I don't care. I'm like a chihuahua. Wow. I will climb up you like a spider monkey, okay? And this is for somebody who doesn't get violent or angry. But if I feel disrespected to a certain degree, I will get in your face. So I'm not going to hit anybody. I'm still never going to hit anybody. But the intent is there, and usually men back down, which is really surprising, actually.
Because you're standing up for yourself. You're standing up for yourself. And that's something that I think we all could take a lesson from. Because, like you said, we do have a lot to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a lot with being, humble. We're very humble creatures. Stop being humble. Flex. We all have certain skills, certain parts of us that we know. Top tier. Always. We all have a favorite part of ourselves, whether it's the way we think or our creative ability or, our boobs, like something. There's a part of you that every woman has. That's her favorite part. Every part of you should be your favorite part, but flex what is your personal favorite. It's going to build your confidence to the level where I'm at. Take no shit. Don't write down no names and work, Hot girl summer.
I'm loving it.
Yes.
I'm loving it.
That's awesome.
Was there anything that you wanted to specifically say to our guests that we haven't covered?
I mean, I know. I think I pretty much covered it, Treat men like shit. No, just kidding. But no, it's about standing up for yourself. I see it a lot, especially, my age. And actually, yes, there is something I want to add. When it comes to marriage, now mind you, I'm a hoe. Doesn't mean I'll never get married. But at this point, I have a 10-year-old son. I don't really see a point. That guy's got to be like amazing.
Something
in every way,
special.
shape, or form.
Yeah, I hear
Anna
you.
Marine. It's them men.
Well,
like
whoever you marry should be incredibly special because you are incredibly special.
And
you have a lot to offer. Exactly.
When I say this, because I have a lot of, people my age now, you see a lot of divorce and you see a lot of breaking up and a lot of mess. So there's a couple of things here. Number one, stop putting your business online.
Yeah.
Stop. You're embarrassing yourself. You're not embarrassing your partner. You blasting your partner about how your relationship didn't work or they cheated on you or they did this, and this makes you look bad because it happened to you. Stop. You look like an idiot. Beyond that, when it comes to the divorce stuff, number one, why is it public? It doesn't need to be public information. You can put that you're single. If somebody wants to ask you in your inbox, you feel like telling your information, go for it. You don't have to make this long-winded, it just didn't work out. We just don't have the right views together. We don't have the same morals or whatever the case may be, values, whatever. Why? Why do we need all that? Like, is this a Tinder profile or is this Facebook? Like, your family knows this isn't a post for your family because they hear it a lot. Well, I have a lot of family. Okay, well, my family doesn't want to know any of that. They don't care. But a lot of that too is like, take your time. What is the rush in jumping into marriage, jumping into a serious relationship? I always say, if you don't have a ring, keep the roster. Doesn't mean you're cheating on your significant other. It just means that motherfucker knows you got backup in case he fucks up. That you are not going to be serious about it until he is serious about it too. And that's making sure you're both on the same page. Always communication. But again, my age, most of the people I went to high school with were married early to mid-20s.
Oh, wow.
Why? No, there's nothing wrong with that. But in my opinion, everybody needs a hoe phase of some kind. You have to.
I think I need a second hoe phase now.
Listen,
I've had my hoe phase. I think I need another hoe phase.
But now you have the hoe tips from my podcast.
That's right.
The book I'm re-releasing, so it's going to be a whole new level of hoe.
I actually can't wait to read your book. I wanted to read it before.
Yeah, I took it out of publication when I started my comedy around it because I didn't want people to have my jokes before I told them.
Yeah, of course.
And
it
then
makes total sense.
Once I, got my diagnosis and stuff, I'm like, let's rework this a little bit before we ship it back out. So that's actually what I'm working on now. I was shooting for January, but I don't like to set deadlines for myself because then I panic. Okay. And then it's just slipshod. I don't do anything slipshod. I'm a Virgo. It has to be absolutely perfect.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Let us know when it's all set and back out in publication. We'd both like to read it.
Oh, it's going to be everywhere. Trust and believe. Because, my podcast itself, I didn't expect it to pick up like it did. It's only been a couple months, and I have like almost 1,000 people listening.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
I went to an event, like a red carpet event recently because it was a comedy event. And I'm walking down the hallway after, you take the, standard pictures. I don't know how to pose. I need to work on that. That's something I need to work on. I look like an awkward duck when I'm on, I look uncomfortable in front of the camera, but it's also because I have a Cabbage Patch face. But I'm walking down the hallway and all I hear is, it's the hoe on the go. It's Kanooble.
Oh my God.
Oh, she's a hoe. She's a hoe. Yeah, I'm a hoe. And then I hear a manager going, no, it's okay. She has a podcast. That's her podcast. It's her podcast. So there's no, sexual harassment thing. And I was just like, I've never met these people. I'm like, these people, they know me. And then on other people, I'm going to sit at my seat because I had a contest on my podcast for somebody to win a free ticket. the person who won that free ticket went with me. So they're experiencing this with me. And, I'm going to sit down and this guy pulls me aside. He said, gotta stop messing with these men like this on Facebook. Because I am raunchy on Facebook. And I take no crap. Like my comebacks to some of these men, because they're just bad. I get raunchy on Facebook, and for somebody to pull me aside, especially like a middle-aged man, say I was at least 55, and he's like, you need to stop messing with these men like that on Facebook, Kanooble. And I'm like, who are you? You follow me on Facebook? Like, what is going on here? But that was like the first time I really felt like my work meant something,
That's awesome.
It was an amazing feeling. And then you're just like, this is inspirational. I'm like, yeah, I knew I sucked all those dicks for a reason. I live my life with intent. I live my life in a way where I take no shit, because I am not going to be anything but happy. I was depressed for a very long time. I was broken for a very long time and confused. Now I am absolutely sure of who I am, what I want. I started my company. I know what I like to do, what I will take and what I won't, what branch of the military I prefer to fuck, and I'm living my life accordingly.
There you go.
I want everybody to live their life that way. So if I can get anybody from listening to this to start living their life with intent, I'm satisfied. And if you have any questions about being a hoe, please reach out to me. I got you, girl. I got you.
Yeah, and we'll put all of your contact info in the show notes. Thank you so much for sharing so much of who you are and your story with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. It's been really fun.
Awesome.
Thanks. So Raquel, in final thoughts, I am so impressed with the idea of taking like life lessons, creating a hoe handbook. And then, yes, of course they apply to being a hoe, but I didn't really realize before we talked to her how much they apply to all facets of life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think I had the same realization that, it all extrapolates outward, right? Take control of your sexual situations for sure, but also take control of your life. Do what makes you happy. Do the things that make you happy. Like Christy said at the end, live your life with intent. I like that. We can all learn to do that with more regularity.
One of the things I'm so amazed at is someone who went through such deep transformation in their 20s, now is 30 years old. And
31, I think she said.
31 years old, and I'm learning from their content. I'm 53, you're 52, she's 31, and we're learning from her content. It's a fucking amazing world we live in, and I am really really impressed with her work. Really impressed.
Yeah, and I have to say, I have to toot our horns a little bit on this too, and specifically yours, because you found Christy. And so the fact that you and I, yes, being in our 50s, are open to learning from somebody
I want to learn.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Maybe you don't have people in your life like this, but there are people in my life who are my age and older, and they're like, young people, blah, they don't know anything, that. And I'm like, well, no, you learn from everybody. I feel like I've learned quite a bit from Christy, and
same.
I'm sure I have quite a bit more to learn from Christy.
I'm going to inbox her my questions, because I feel a second hoe phase coming on.
Do it.
Do it. I got to get back out there.
World, look out. Jennifer's coming.
Bye, Raquel.
Bye, Jennifer.
Thanks, everyone, for listening today. We will be back with more Madness Cafe next week. You can find us on Instagram at Madness Cafe Podcast, or email us at madnesscafepodcast@gmail.com. Bye.